Good evening and welcome to our annual Restoration Celebration live event. My name is Courtney Dugstead and I have the esteemed privilege as serving as the interim executive director of this organization. And we are truly so honored to spend the next hour with you and share the hearts and words of those impacted by Next Chapter Ministries. First and foremost, a huge thank you to our sponsors for this event. These folks have come alongside us and provide services, financial support, and even tech support. Special thank you to Doug Grice, Scott Weigel, Greg Jacob, and Tommy Weigel for the amazing video production. We couldn't have pulled it off without all of you. We have some really exciting stories to share with you tonight, so make sure you're registered by texting RC to 243 725. Get comfy, bid often and bid high on our silent auction, copy this link and share with friends, and let's experience the story. As many of you might be aware, Next Chapter has been around for a little over 20 years. And during that time, we have built a strong and consistent reputation in the community that has really helped facilitate partnerships with many of the folks you are about to hear from. We have often found ourselves in the intersections where families impacted by incarceration and service providers meet, and have been able to advocate and be a bridge in those spaces. Over the last year, we have been invited into the school setting in 3 different Rochester schools to provide support for youth impacted by the justice system. We ended up in the top 3 list of things detainees in the Adult Detention Center sign up to participate in. We served over 780 incarcerated or post-incarcerated individuals and found ourselves being invited to many tables in both the faith-based and secular communities. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with some of the leaders in both and gather some insights about Next Chapter's impact in our community.
I serve as the missions pastor at Autumn Ridge Church.
So Autumn Ridge Church has supported Next Chapter with time, treasure, talent for close to 20 years. Can you tell me a little bit more about why?
Next Chapter has really served us here at Autumn Ridge by allowing us to be involved in the Lord's work here in Rochester. So we've been given opportunity to invest in people's lives, to engage in their lives, to engage in the ministry, to serve in many different ways using the different types of gifts that people might have. And so we love ministries which allow us to have people engaging from our congregation. That's what Next Chapter is. So it's not us serving Next Chapter, it's really Next Chapter serving us by giving us opportunity to minister in our community.
I will say too that over the years, every month, even we have a number of volunteers that come from Autumn Ridge. We've had hundreds over the years in groups and individuals serving meals, giving of their time as handymen and women, mentoring, leading Bible studies in the jail and on site here, barbecue, like you said, and even serving on our board. And so there has been a really integrated relationship between Next Chapter and Autumn Ridge that I have so appreciated and have to believe it's a reflection of the leadership there, which you're a part of. And so I appreciate you.
I think if we cast people off, in other words, if people have made mistakes, if they made errors, we'll even use the biblical term if they sinned, and they're no longer allowed to reintegrate and establish in a society, it's society's loss. I want you to know how much we value Next Chapter. I'm not just saying that. It's a real thing. I'm so thankful for your leadership. I'm so thankful for the other workers that are there. I'm thankful for what you are doing to reach out to people who've been impacted by crime. And so I want to encourage you on in that. This is a valuable, valuable ministry.
Well, thank you, Woody, for your leadership at Autumn Ridge, and thank you on behalf of Next Chapter for the friendship and the relationship that we have with the folks at Autumn Ridge. And I can't wait to see what the future brings for us.
Well, Phoenix Academy is a K through, we always call it K through 21, and it's a setting for where every student there is on an IEP, and they're all really there for significant behavioral challenges. More often than not, the kids we deal with, their behaviors are manifested from the trauma they've had in their life.
Can you talk to me a little bit about how Next Chapter got involved at Phoenix Academy kind of officially?
Yeah, you guys came and met with me and talked about running these groups. And I'll be honest, I was like, yep, okay. Another person coming in and saying they're going to run a group with our kids, because the 6 years I've been there, I can't even count. I bet there's been 15 different organizations or people in the district that have come and said they want to work with our kids. And you guys started, and I thought this will last about a month and they'll say we can't do this anymore. And you guys have been awesome. You just keep coming back. You're there all the time.
I wondered if you might be able to share if you've seen an impact on your students, this peer support group that we run there.
We've seen with some of our kids that go to the group, I think the biggest impact is their ability to talk to other adults after specifically on the days that you meet. We're able to get more out of them and kind of try to find out what's going on. They'll tell us stuff in their life. They'll talk to us. Specifically, we had just had one student that was really struggling with his dad going back to prison. And just the ability for him to have a place to talk to in your group, and then to also get that conversation started with us was super helpful for the kids. And to have you guys as a support group was very important to that student. The school attendance stayed solid through it all, and I think you guys were a big part of that.
I appreciate that. And the beauty of the peer support group too is that we really don't do anything. That's kind of the secret. You give us too much credit, because we really just open it up, teach the kids how to identify the emotions and feelings that they're having around any particular experience, like what you just mentioned, and then teach them how to support each other, so that hopefully one day when you and I aren't around, they're able to still identify their feelings and also support each other without us having to facilitate that.
We do see it from time to time with some real, if there's an incident between two peers, some of the peers will get in and try to calm kids down. And no, it's been a neat program, and I appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you. I think that your students are some of the most resilient, courageous people we have ever met, and it has been an absolute honor to serve them and work alongside you.
All right. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.
My name is Mark Ostrom. I'm the Olmsted County Attorney. Probably the primary role I play is that I am the chief prosecutor for the community, for our jurisdiction.
Have you seen in all of your years, either as county attorney or in your private practice, an impact that Next Chapter has made in the community?
Shortly after I was elected county attorney, we were visiting some other service providers in our community, looking to find ways that we could continue to be supportive. And I remember I was assigned to 3 different entities. Next Chapter was the 3rd. I came away from that meeting, that visit, with such a positive thought about, this is one of those places where people really will have that extra chance. They will get that opportunity, and what's so hard is that, I think everybody in the community needs to know and needs to experience Next Chapter and see what it's like. But at the same time, the folks that come out of the Department of Corrections need a sense of anonymity. If they're going to be successful, they don't need all eyes on them. So I appreciate the fact that I can drive down 3rd Avenue and I know where the houses are at, but they look like a regular part of our community. And that's what's so important for these folks as they come out, is that they are coming back to their community and they are a regular member of our community.
What do you consider success? And of course, we know success looks way different than just a number or one particular benchmark. Sometimes success kind of goes like this. But if you look at success as recidivism rate, I would say the last couple of years, the guys that have successfully completed their commitment to us, which is 6 months minimum, we've had 0% commit new crimes in 2 years. So that's pretty good.
And that's just amazing. And for those folks, I tell you that first 6 months is so hard. And I don't know that we all really appreciate that. I can't imagine if I was coming out of the Department of Corrections, been basically housed outside of our community. I just can't imagine how difficult it must be those first few days, those first few weeks. If you can get them past that 6-month mark, they will be successful. So you're doing an amazing job.
Oh, well, thank you. We definitely have appreciated the partnership with your team and your office as well. I don't, one of your teammates actually is on our board of directors, and she's amazing and a huge advocate for her community and your team. And so we have valued, although sometimes we're on opposite ends of the courtroom, I guess, we have absolutely valued our partnership and relationship and your support through your work.
My pleasure. Good luck. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help, and continue to do what you're doing.
My name is Macy Tesmer. I'm the operations captain for the Olmsted County Adult Detention Center. I supervise the 4 platoon sergeants and the booking and court division, which ends up being about 60 staff. I've been with the county for 23 years. I've been a captain for 9.
Have you seen an impact that next chapter? And like you said, back in the day before it was even next chapter, what impact have you seen it make in the adult detention center with the detainees?
I think one of the biggest things is that they are able to make connections with the folks from Next Chapter. There are several groups that Next Chapter does for our detainees, both our males and females, which is important because we struggle with getting female programming. And part of that's because our female numbers are smaller. But they build connections to the point that there are times where detainees might come back into our facility and they need somebody to talk to, and they might specifically ask for Tommy or somebody else from Next Chapter to come in and talk to them just because they need somebody to talk to. The other good thing about Next Chapter is that it allows the detainees to continue to have contact with them once they get released, which a lot of programming doesn't. And our average length of stay is about 17 days, so it's difficult to really make a huge impact on folks while they're in custody. But Next Chapter has been able to make those connections with folks and continue to have contact with them when they get released.
I think you guys are doing a great job, and it has been a pleasure to be in a partnership for this many years.
My name is John Ryan. I've been on the board with Next Chapter Ministries for a little over a year now, January of 2019. I've really enjoyed it. I'm also in real estate and construction in Rochester. Have a real estate company, Dwell Realty Group, and a flooring company, the Flooring Collective.
How would you encourage other business owners to get more involved in their local community?
Just because, for example, for me, like I have all the best intentions to volunteer and, get in there and work day to day. But honestly, from a financial aspect, just giving as much as you possibly can to Next Chapter and other great nonprofits in town. Because yourself and our staff, which is phenomenal, you guys are the ones, pounding the pavement every day and working hard. I would want the community to know that the amount of investment that's going into our participants, our people living in the houses, is incredible. Investing in Next Chapter is imperative to Rochester and the surrounding towns. Encourage anyone that sees this or has the financial capability to give generously.
Well, thank you, John, and it has been a pleasure to serve alongside you on the board, and I appreciate all of the ways that you invest your time and energy and finances and partnership with both Dwell and Flooring Collective as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for what you guys do.
Robin Wood. I'm an intensive supervised release with DFO Community Corrections. I supervise men and women being released from prison and then supervise that transition from prison to the community.
And a part of Next Chapter's mission is actually that restoration to community as a part of our foundational piece. And we have had lots of relationships with you personally and also with DFO Corrections. Can you talk a little bit about just kind of our partnership over the years and if you think it's had an impact on the folks that you serve?
Sure. So absolutely. I think the men and the women that we've had utilize resources, whether it's that they're living there full time or they're coming there for Bible study or, you know, they're getting some support, has been very beneficial. So as we know, some people have gone to prison. They've burnt a lot of their bridges with family, with friends, or their friends or family aren't people, if they're trying to make changes in their life, that they should be reconnecting to right away. So when they've made that commitment to come to the next chapter and they're serious about that, and we know a lot is off our plate as far as what we may have to provide them because it's there. So I've had clients go there and they feel supported and they feel loved for sometimes the first time in their whole life. They have their spiritual needs met, they're getting jobs or back into school, they get reconnected with their family or kids, but in a very structured, methodical way. It's not like the first day they get out, everything's put on their plate. You know, I like when they come there, you know, usually I think it's the first month, they're really just focused on the programming and getting involved in your community, not, hey, you have to have a job in a week and you're starting chemical dependency treatment tomorrow and you have 5 mental health appointments. Like that's overwhelming for anybody. So it's nice that it's staggered, but yet all their basic needs are being met. I think it's, you know, I go there a lot when I see the guys and it's such a comfortable, warm home environment. And I think about a lot of the people I've worked with and they have such long history of childhood trauma that I don't know if any of them have probably, or a lot of them, I have never lived in a house that's has food in the cupboards and people check on them and that care about them and that will hold them accountable too, and that, you know, set a bar high of positive behaviors and things, but will also work with them around their struggles. So when I go there, like especially when there's meals going on and that type of thing, it's so inviting. And you know, I try to always put myself in my client's shoes, and I think, you know, if I was coming back and wanted to be somewhere I felt really safe, like I couldn't imagine being at a place I felt more safe than what you guys have, you know. Huge meals and family. It's a whole community within a few row of houses that we are so lucky to have for our people coming back here.
I have so appreciated working with you as well and your support of the guys that come here to Next Chapter.
Thank you, Courtney. I appreciate it.
We are truly honored to hear from the community we serve in, and thank you for being a part of our story. Restoration to community is not only a pillar of our mission, but a vital component to successfully helping to break the cycle of incarceration. Along with community restoration, Next Chapter provides both the safe space and the support for our participants to experience restoration to God and family as well. Our Lighthouse Women's Ministry currently serves an average of 30 women and their families every week on site. This year, we also partnered with Together for Good, and now not only share space with this deeply important organization, but also share resources and services so that we can provide even more wraparound care for mothers that are system involved or at risk to be system involved. Our Refuge Teen Ministry experienced a lot of victories this year as well, and we were able to provide 11 support groups and Bible studies every week to justice-involved youth both in the detention center and in the community. Our Rebuild Fatherhood program allowed for over 84 visitations between fathers and their children last year, and we welcomed 20 men from incarceration or treatment into our residential discipleship program, 55% of whom celebrated their successful completion, restoration, and transition into independent living with 0% recidivism. One of the most encouraging examples of that was Chaz Beckman. Chaz came to Next Chapter in 2018 with a smile on his face and a deep desire for life transformation. But his story didn't start that way. Tonight, we invite you to experience his story.
Chaz Beckman. I was born in Nuremberg, Germany in 1988. I don't really remember my parents being together. They had separated. So it was really weird, just kind of like going back and forth from mom to dad's, mom to dad's, mom to dad's. Got 7 brothers and sisters. Growing up with a family that size was difficult but really memorable a lot of times. Kind of being the youngest for many years until my younger siblings were born. Being the little guy all the time, it just was horrible, you know? But always having like bigger brothers and stuff like that to look up to and there to protect me and stuff like that. I got some childhood memories I can remember. A lot of stuff I don't want to remember. I've witnessed a lot of like physical and like verbal and emotional abuse to my mom from her relationship she was in. It was scary, you know, like witnessing stuff that young men or young boys shouldn't have to see. And then our father had got diagnosed with cancer when I was, I don't know, maybe 11 years old or something like that, and he had died when I was 12. And that was probably like one of the toughest days of my life. I was angry. I was mad. Ultimately, I was just sad. So I just really bottled it up and acted tough. When ultimately I was just like this little kid hurting. The day my dad died, I started running. Started drinking, started smoking weed, started doing cocaine. And next thing you know, I started smoking a lot of meth, dropped out of school. It started out getting pulled over, drinking and driving underage, to stealing, forging checks, burglary, robbing, the selling and dealing drugs. Like I was in and out of jail more times than I can remember.
I am a detention deputy with the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office. I first met Chaz Beckman in our intake unit. Chaz was not, he wasn't sober the first couple of times I interacted with him as he came in off the streets. He was a little resistant to where he was.
I was serving a 98-month prison sentence for drug possession of methamphetamines. I never felt so alone up in that point as I did. I was just tired, you know, just trying to figure stuff out on my own, just trying to, you know, just do everything on my own. It was just time to give up. You know, I was tired of fighting. You know, I was tired of running. I was tired of feeling like I couldn't breathe. And it was that day I asked the Lord to come into my life. He just put it on my heart that I needed something different. You know, I've just heard from a number of guys actually in prison coming to the Next Chapter or have gone there. And so I had a little bit of understanding about Next Chapter Ministries. And so I just found the brochure and I applied. And I don't think I got one visit out of that whole 98-month sentence I served. The whole time up until Tommy Weigel and Tierra Webster came and visited me in Faribault. Yeah, Chaz Beckman, 23-15-32, you got a visit. I was like, what the heck? I'm like, what?
He had such a drive right there on the spot and a passion for things to be different in his life, and to not go back to those heartbreaking places that he described to us in his story. When he showed up, he was at attention, almost saying, what can I do to learn? What can I do to grow? And I've always appreciated that about Chaz, and that is still true to this day.
Can you talk about the first time that you saw him at Trinity PCA, which is your church, where you go with you and your family. What was your reaction? What was that experience like?
I'm very closed off about my family relationships when it comes to my work. And to my shame, that's how I reacted to Chaz.
What went through your head when you first saw him walk in the door?
Oh, crud. He just saw me with my family. And what's he doing here? And then he walked up to me afterwards and gave me a hug. And I was like, okay, this is different. I was never more encouraged by anyone walking in the door of a local church building. I don't know if there's a much more to say about the interaction of our relationship other than to say it's very different now than it was over a year ago. That's a massive change in where I went from like, how am I going to get my family out of this situation, to being happy to see him when he's here and disappointed when he's not.
One of the things that's been very special for me is to see Chaz growing in his faith, to see him hunger for knowing what God's word says and a desire to honor the Lord with his life. Not because he thinks that that's going to make God love him anymore, but because he knows that God loves him and because he knows that the gospel is true. And I would want people to know that yes, Chaz has made mistakes in his life. We all have. And he stands before his Father in heaven no different than me or anybody else that is saved by that same gospel, saved by that same grace.
No, I feel like I have been restored. You know, I'm a member of a church, and you know, I've restored a lot of relationships, broken relationships with my family. Some are still in the making. But the way God is working through Next Chapter Ministries to prepare disciples, you know, and teach and lead new believers as myself to be a better member in the community and to be a better father and to be a better brother, you know, just to be a better person in general. It's fantastic. My relationship right now with my grandma is so spectacular. So that day after I asked the Lord to come into my heart, he placed it on my heart just to start reaching out, and I reached out to her. Finding out after all this time of being away, being in prison and stuff like that, here she is going through cancer herself. So it's still tough. Like, she can bake. At church, they call her Grandma Buns, okay? Well, she loves playing Yahtzee. You know, spending time with Grandma and Grandpa and watching them the way they love one another is just something so incredible to witness. Hello?
Hi.
Hey, Grandma, how you doing?
Doing okay. How about yourself?
Good.
Very positive in your change about, and I'm glad that they reached out to you and you reached out to them and then to you. And you've been a very important part of our life at this point.
Chaz has on numerous occasions texted me, called me, pulled me aside and said, "Hey Tom, I want to learn how to love people. I want to learn how to listen well. I want to learn how to serve well. I want to learn how to love my neighbor in a genuine way."
I dream that you are content and happy and satisfied with life and doing a worthwhile job that you know that you're proud of doing and learning what you're doing. I think that would be wonderful. And having a place to come home to.
Okay.
So when I think about Chaz's future, one of the things that I am looking forward to seeing in his life is how he will have lots of opportunities to take what he's been learning, what God's been showing him about who he is and the journey that he's been on, and be able to pour that into other young men.
God has knitted our stories together in a way that is countercultural. I look forward to being able to sit down with Chaz, being able to watch him grow in not just call him brother, but call him a good friend.
He was all in from the get-go. Chaz has been a blessing to Next Chapter. It's just an encouragement to the staff, to the residents, volunteers, participants, just to observe and to see someone's life change and to see how invested they are in that.
And it feels like the people I have in my life today are going to be here for the rest of my life. Since I came home to live at Next Chapter, what are some changes you have seen in me?
Oh, goodness. Great. And you have time for me to write a book.
Chaz's story of transformation is not only an example of the power of surrendering to Jesus Christ, but also a shining reminder of why Next Chapter exists. A little over 6 years ago, I showed up at Next Chapter Ministries to interview for a part-time position in the youth ministry. I had spent nearly the last decade overseas as the director of an organization doing life-changing work, and was having a hard time figuring out how I was going to engage in meaningful work in my own community. And then I met the team and volunteers at Next Chapter, and I realized this organization isn't like anything else I had ever encountered. It became clear to me immediately that it was a family, a super weird kind of misfit family that was made up of people coming from different environments and bringing a wide range of life experiences with them. Some that were easy to rejoice in, and some that were more challenging to accept, but none that could be explained outside of God's divine providence and purpose that He had for each of our lives. And when I think of Chaz's story, it is unique, but it is not unlike many others we hear. You see, 1 out of 6 Minnesota households is impacted by the cycle of incarceration, and 4 out of 6 households have experienced some form of childhood trauma. And yes, that means a house in your own neighborhood, maybe even yours. But I want you to know that you are not alone, because although not all of us have criminal records, all of us have criminal histories. And although the state of Minnesota is progressive, we still incarcerate more people than the countries of Canada, France, and the United Kingdom combined. And when you zoom into the faces sitting in those prison cells, over 80% of them have experienced some form of abuse, neglect, or household dysfunction as children. These are not easy things to swallow. And they complicate the story of what we want to believe is simply right versus wrong, what is just and unjust. But as you heard from Chaz's story, it is bigger and deeper and harder than just making better choices. It requires healing, it requires compassion, and it requires exhaustion from trying everything else but surrendering to Jesus Christ. And it is in this space that Next Chapter lives. It is in this space that we welcome the most resilient men, women, and youth that I have ever met, because they have overcome incredibly difficult odds to get to our doors, And when they do, we welcome in their past, even the hard parts, their stories, and their desires to transform the legacy for their children. We show up every day to Next Chapter, to courtrooms, and to jail cells because life transformation is a process. It is not a destination. And relationships are hard. But we are here. And with your help tonight, we are not going anywhere. I often say that we cannot predict where in the journey of transformation our participants land. We can only show up and offer sound and consistent counsel, interceding prayer, accountability and love, and lasting relationships. So tonight, I ask you to say yes to joining us in that, to say yes to Chaz, and even yes to those we have not yet met, that are still sitting in our prisons and jails, waiting for the hope of a better future, and to give to Next Chapter. I know these are challenging times, but now more than ever, we need you. We are still showing up every day and providing a refuge, a lighthouse, and discipleship to families impacted by this brutal cycle of incarceration. I want you to know that the hope I have found during this trying time is that every single dollar you give makes an immediate and direct impact. It doesn't go to a big pot of savings we have for a rainy day. It goes directly into our capacity to serve folks right now. Your support tonight goes with us into the detention center as we share the gospel to hungry ears. And it joins us at the Lighthouse dinner table as women gather and share friendship. Your support tonight comes with us into the homes of families struggling to provide for the basic needs of their children, and follows us onto the couches of teens living alone and needing support and hope to keep working hard on their goals to break the cycle of incarceration that they inherited. So would you get on your phones and your computers now and go to our bidpal.net/RC and make a donation to help us continue to serve families in our community. And whatever number just popped into your head, would you really dig deep and double that? Whatever is on your heart to give today, we appreciate your partnership in the mission and are grateful that you said yes. Let's take a break before checking in on the donation scoreboard as you consider what to give. your donation make an impact? $2,500 can sponsor a discipleship home resident for 6 months of residency. $500 can sponsor meals for 15 women for 3 months at the Lighthouse. $100 can sponsor a refuge teen to go to summer camp, sometimes for the first time. And $25 can sponsor a box of Bibles for the ADC detainees. So you see, any amount counts. Also, good news, our silent auction will now be open until 6 p.m. on Monday. So make sure to invite your friends to participate and get in there and buy now or bid high. Remember, you can give to Next Chapter in 3 ways. If you aren't registered, text RC to 243-725. If you are registered, you can go straight to the Donate Now button right on BidPal, or simply head to our website, nextchapterrochester.org, and donate that way. You guys, thank you for being a part of this incredible night and for experiencing the story of Next Chapter with us. You can continue to give throughout the night and encourage others to give on our BidPal site or through our website. You can also head to our website to get connected in various ways with Next Chapter at nextchapterrochester.org. We are so grateful you are a part of the Next Chapter family and that we are a part of yours. If you enjoyed this event, watch it again and share with friends our Next Chapter Ministries YouTube channel and link. Your giving is fueling transformation and restoration in Rochester, Minnesota.
Tired of staring down at my feet. I've been walking in a strange direction. I wanna rise from this defeat, but am I wasting my time? Feel the wind press on my back. Been fighting most my life against it. I hear the voice inside my head saying you're no good, but I'm over it. Time to